Tenants and advocates say the strict tenant screening by landlords is unfair to tenants of color, and they want to pass laws that prevent landlords from doing background checks, credit checks, and checking a tenant's eviction history. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of a place that I don't normally cover, and that's Indianapolis, Indiana. Now, obviously, Indiana is not known as being a place that, is anti-landlord. It's actually a very pro-landlord place. But like I said before in many of my other videos, these laws, these rules, these regulations, they're spreading. They're spreading to places that traditionally have been very pro-property rights. And you're going to start seeing more of it. And that's why we have to fight it right now. We have to stop it before it gets put into place, and then we're stuck under these ridiculous regulations. So the article I'm going over, it's actually covering the fact that, hey, landlords, our screening processes have become more strict, and especially after the pandemic when we weren't getting paid. And now they're saying that, oh, well, these strict tenant screening policies, they're racist. That's what they're claiming. They're claiming that, oh, well, by putting this in place, it disproportionately impacts people of certain races. And I call, BS on that, okay? And I say that, one, these policies are put in place for people of all races. They aren't in place just for people of any particular race. And two, the things that, that we're putting in place, they are the best business practices, okay? They're best business practices, and they make sense. They make sense because if we start to decrease our screening criteria, it actually hurts us. It hurts us badly. And I personally experienced this, okay? So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Do you believe the strict screening criteria for tenants by landlords, do you think that's racist? Okay, that's the question of the day. Do you believe that strict screening criteria, because it disproportionately impacts certain races of people, do you believe that we should just get rid of it? Or we should ban landlords from being able to screen tenants at all? Maybe landlords should just, look at a person and just, not even look at them. You can't even look at them, right? But maybe just see the application and just be, I approve the very first person who comes through. No screening whatsoever. I mean, really? You really think that's a good idea? I know there's plenty of tenants on here who probably do, but I'm not one of those morons, okay? So anyway, let's get into this article because it's quite interesting. This article is coming from the IndyStar.com, and it says, credit scores, past evictions, criminal history pose barriers for renters, report finds. Wow, they had to write a report to figure out that, hey, landlords don't want people with bad credit scores, criminal histories, and evictions on their records. Wow, man, I could have told them that without them ever, doing any research whatsoever. Of course we don't want those people in our properties, okay? Yes, there are landlords who will rent to these people, but they are, in the minority. The majority of landlords want better tenants than that. They want good quality tenants in their property because the tenants with these problems, they are less likely to pay rent. They're more likely to cause problems. And, we don't want to spend all of our money trying to correct these issues, trying to give these people a break. Okay, so anyway, let's get into the article. Stringent tenant screening policies are compounding the housing crisis and making it harder for Indianapolis residents, especially Black renters, women, and families with children, to find safe and affordable homes, according to a new report from the Fair Housing Center of Central Indiana. Tenant screening is a report on a potential renter's financial, criminal, and rental history. Landlords run these reports and use them to determine whether to rent to the applicant and how much to charge for the security deposit. These reports are usually run by an outside consumer reporting organization, according to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. So yeah, that's very true, right? We do use tenant screening programs. I use TransUnion Smart Move for my rental properties, and they do a lot of the hard work for me, okay? I don't have to go to 5 or 6 different places in order to do my tenant screening. I can just go to them, and they will look at the eviction history, the credit history, and the criminal background check all in one hit. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm done after that. No, I still have to call up employers to make sure that these people actually work. I'm going to call up their previous landlord, make sure that their previous landlord wasn't burned and just didn't file eviction. I mean, this kind of stuff does happen, okay? And the reason I do all of this is because I have a property worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the last thing I want is for a bad tenant to get up in there, not pay me rent, and then I'm out, thousands of dollars in lost rent. I'm out thousands of dollars in order to go through the eviction process. And maybe I have property damage on top of that as well. I have gone through this before, and it is not fun at all to suddenly say, okay, not only did I not get paid rent for the last several months, but now I've got to pay $6,500 worth of damages that this tenant did to my property. That can kill a small mom and pop landlord who maybe owns one or two properties. So I need everyone to understand that there's a reason why we have these strict tenant screening procedures in place, okay? And that's to try to prevent, you can't totally prevent it, but you can eliminate a lot of the bad actors out there, okay? These bad tenants out there, you can get rid of probably 95% of them with good tenant screening. Credit score minimums. Most apparent application processes come with a credit check, but the report found that screening out tenants based on low credit has a disproportionate impact on Black and Hispanic renters who often have lower or insufficient credit scores due to lack of generational wealth. The Fair Housing Center's report found that some Indianapolis area apartment complexes have minimum credit scores of 650. One apartment complex, which was not named, charged extra non-refundable fees to renters with average credit scores below 700. I read this stuff and I'm asking myself, okay, this is a garbage argument. It's an absolute garbage argument. It says that it has a disproportionate impact on Black and Hispanic renters because they don't have generational wealth. That's garbage, okay? And I'm going to tell you exactly why. Generational wealth isn't what builds a credit score. The fact that your mom or dad were wealthy doesn't mean that you're going to have a good credit score. I know plenty of people who grew up very well-to-do who have horrible credit, okay? And I know plenty of people who grew up very low income and they have excellent credit. In fact, I like to talk about myself. I'm a former Walmart worker. I was a truck unloader at Walmart, making less than $20,000 a year and living in a horrible house down in the hood. And, my credit was awful. But you know what I did? I got my act together and I rebuilt my credit. It took time. It took time. I had to pay off all the people I owed. I had to wait for all of the bad marks on my credit to just fall off. And now here I am, and it's, more than a decade later, and guess what? Now my credit score is up in like the 830s. So don't give me this garbage. You can start with nothing and still have a good credit score. And that's the art. This is a BS argument that they like to use. Now, rather than saying that, landlords, rather than saying, hey, this person needs to take personal responsibility and get their credit repaired so that they are better able to find rental housing, right? They say, well, landlords just need to take people with horrible credit. Well, you know what horrible credit really means? It means that the person, either they don't pay their bills or they continuously pay late, okay? And they left, their credit score is bad because of that. That is what it means, okay? They left this debt sitting with these people over here. And if they are willing to, for example, not pay their phone bill or not pay their credit card bill or some other bill that they owe, do you think that they won't pay their landlord? I do, okay? I think they have just as high a likelihood of not paying their landlord as they did of not paying that credit card bill. So credit scores are important. Now, 650 isn't even a high score. 650 is a super low score. If you have a credit score below 650, you're just doing pretty awful right now, okay? And yes, I understand why landlords won't want to rent to you. Policies like this, the report said, will penalize 80% of Black households and half the rental market writ large. The report also argues that a focus on credit can have an adverse effect on domestic violence survivors. Hey, if it comes down to it, right? People need to take personal responsibility for their credit scores, be it a person who, is a domestic violence survivor or anyone else, okay? It is not the responsibility of the landlord to be forced to rent to these people. Previous evictions. In Marion County, majority black neighborhoods have a higher average incidence of eviction filings than in surrounding communities and the nation as a whole. Black renters are particularly vulnerable to eviction, making up over 32% of eviction filings, but just under 20% of renters overall. Families with children are at triple risk for eviction as compared to individuals without children, the report said, even if the two families are in similar economic situations. That doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Just simply put, if you have children, then you are more likely to suffer from eviction. I mean, I can understand what they're trying to imply there, that somehow, landlords aren't being fair to families with children. No, we're being fair, but a lot of landlords don't want to deal with somebody who is a known person who doesn't pay their rent, okay? We know that you don't pay your rent. How do we know that? We look on your eviction history and we see that, hey, somebody has filed an eviction against you before. That's pretty glaringly obvious that you don't pay your rent, okay? So why would I want to rent to somebody who doesn't pay their rent? You're like, it never led to an actual eviction. Well, yeah, but did you still not pay your rent or not pay it on time? Yeah, I didn't pay my rent or pay it on time, but I didn't actually get evicted. Well, I don't want you in my place. I don't want you in there if you didn't pay your rent on time. I didn't want you in there if a landlord had to file eviction against you in the first place. Okay? These are things that we use to make sure that we get the best tenants in our property possible. And the one thing I need more than anything else is for my tenants to pay my rent to me on time. Okay? Criminal history. Based on anecdotal evidence, FHCCI said many Indianapolis area apartment complexes have a blanket ban on renters with criminal histories, even some with misdemeanors, despite HUD guidance that states that these policies should not have a discriminatory effect. Black residents of Marion County are jailed at twice the rate of white residents and imprisoned at 4 times the rate, which can make it even more difficult to find safe and affordable housing. I hate these arguments, okay? I absolutely hate them because what are they really saying here, okay? They're saying that, all black people are criminals. All black people have been evicted from their house. All black people got bad credit. So we need to force landlords to take people with bad credit and criminal histories and have evictions on their records so that we're fair to black people. Well, first, you're insulting all black people by saying that we're, basically bad tenants. Okay, that's an awful argument. Each individual should be judged as an individual. That's how I do my business. Okay, I look at the totality of the circumstances. I look at, hey, does this person actually make enough to be able to pay the rent? Does this person have any evictions on their record? Does this person have a criminal history? Does this person, everything. I look at everything. And that's the way landlords, we operate our businesses. Now, just because, when you are a landlord and you're dealing with renters, a lot of lower income renters are people who are minorities. Okay. And it's unfortunate, but a lot of them fall into these categories. That doesn't mean that all of them do. That doesn't mean that there's a blanket ban on people of any specific race. That doesn't mean that I don't like people of a specific race. The only thing it means is, well, this is, this the truth. These statistics, they talk about a general trend. And rather than forcing landlords to take these tenants, we need to work on those problems separately from that, okay? We need to work on people's financial, education. We need to work on people's credit history. We need to get people to stop committing so many crimes. You won't have a criminal history if you don't, commit crime, okay? So, those things are separate problems. Let landlords operate our businesses, and you can go about and fix your problems for yourself, but do not force us to take these bad tenants just because, you know, you feel guilty about whatever is going on. Okay, so this is ridiculous. This is a ridiculous argument. I don't agree with it at all. Yeah, it should be pretty obvious that there are people out there who they want to use race and they want to use, you know, well, they want to use racism as an excuse for, you know, basically bad behavior. Okay, they want to use racism as an excuse for their bad. Oh well, I ended up in jail because of race. No, no, no. That was your personal decision. You made that choice, and now you have to deal with the consequences. And as a landlord, I don't have to rent to you.